Hi and welcome to State of Mind. So the coronavirus is a pandemic, and at the time of this recording, about 140,000 people have been infected worldwide. And in our country, we've had about 85 cases and one fatality. But far more widespread than the pandemic of coronavirus is the pandemic of anxiety. If you look around the world, people are extremely anxious now. There's a general air of tension, and in many cases, there is widespread panic. People are hoarding things, buying things that may have questionable benefit, overwhelmed by what might happen, worrying about their health, worrying about the health of their children, of their parents. And so clearly, anxiety right now is taking a bigger toll than the condition itself. Now, we know from previous epidemics like the Ebola virus outbreak, for example, that when there's such an epidemic, there is an increase in the number of cases of depression, anxiety, and other mental illness. A lot of people actually have their first episode of depression or anxiety in the context of a stressful situation like what is happening right now. So keep in mind that if you're suffering from anxiety or depression, if you have pre-existing anxiety or depression, this is certainly a stressful time and it can make the anxiety and depression worse. And that is something you should pay close attention to. But why is anxiety increasing and what can we do about it? Well, one of the main reasons that anxiety and panic is being created by this condition is because this is a new and novel threat. In many experiments, when they studied the human brain and looked at functional MRI scans of the brain, they found that the fear center of the brain, the amygdala, increases in its activity much more when the threat is new and novel. So, people say that road accidents, for example, kill more people than the coronavirus. And why are people so scared of this virus when they don't seem to be scared about road accidents? And this is a strange thing. You'll find people wearing a mask but not wearing a helmet while they're riding their two-wheeler. So they're in much more danger from, falling off the bike, but they're okay with that risk because that is an old risk and that doesn't evoke the same kind of response that a new risk like coronavirus is evoking at the level of the brain and mind. So one of the key reasons why there is widespread panic and anxiety is that there is still a lot of unknowns about this. We don't know enough about it, it's new, and that's creating panic, anxiety, and tension. The second reason for anxiety is closely related to this unknown factor, and that is the situation of uncertainty. Now, I think that we have become far worse at dealing with uncertainty than previous generations, and a big reason for that is the tremendous progress we've made as a species in science and technology and knowledge. As we've progressed as a species, as a society, as science and technology has progressed, it is very easy for people to start believing that we do have a lot of control, that we have all the answers. And it comes as a shock. It really evokes a lot of anxiety for us to realize, for people to realize that there's a disease right now for which we don't have a cure, for which we don't have answers yet, and that the idea that there's uncertainty in the context of this belief that we should have total certainty is creating a lot of anxiety. Now, the third reason for this anxiety is slightly deeper. We are the only species who has the awareness of its own mortality. We know that we're not here forever. Other species evade threat but without a narrative about it, so they don't really contemplate the end of their lives. Now, as human beings, we have to contend with this knowledge. We have to contend with this awareness, and yet, go about our daily lives like we are kind of immortal. And psychologists, particularly existential theorists, believe that rumbling under the surface for all of us is something that they call a death anxiety. The anxiety of the knowledge of one's own mortality. And when an epidemic or pandemic like coronavirus happens, we come face to face, we are reminded again of our own mortality, our own transience, and that can be quite anxiety provoking and for many people can provoke a lot of distress and panic. So, what can we do about this? How can we not only take care of this anxiety, manage our stress, but also perhaps find something transformative and positive in this experience? Well, I think first thing clearly is that something like this, a huge situation, and whatever way it pans out, there's no doubt that the entire globe is sort of feeling a sense of threat. And this can really remind us of our commonality, of the fact that we are all fellow human beings who ultimately desire and want the same things, which is safety and security. And perhaps a collective threat like this can actually bring us together so that we stop fighting, we stop breaking into multiple subgroups and come together as one species united against a common threat. And so that's one of the positive things that can emerge at a larger social level. But for you individually and for all of us individually, this is a time which tests your ability to deal with uncertainty. Now, I said that uncertainty is a key reason that we're anxious, that people are feeling anxious. And yet, when you think about it, life itself is uncertain. And so this illusion of certainty is just that, it's an illusion. And it's a good thing that it's broken because now it gives us a chance to really connect with our own internal sense of safety, peace, and security and learn how to deal with uncertainty. And really, there's only one way to deal with uncertainty, and that is to ask ourselves, what is it that we know for sure, and what is it that we can do? And what is it that we cannot control and that we cannot influence? The reason that there's a lot of panic buying of things, there's all of this stuff going on where people are anxiously doing things that are of no use and may even harm them, is because when we are anxious, we want to do something. It doesn't matter what it is, but we find it very hard just to sit around and do nothing. But what you don't want to do is let your anxiety make you do things that are not going to help, are in fact going to hurt. So, when you are facing an uncertain situation, you want to take all of that anxious energy and push it and convert it into action that is useful for you. And so, look at all the data, look at all the evidence and ask yourselves, what is it that you can do? Well, firstly, you can take reasonable precautions. You can follow government advisories on, whether it is about isolating yourself for a while or about avoiding certain areas or about washing your hands, making sure your hands are clean. So those are things you can absolutely do and must do to reduce your chance of infection. The second thing you can do is to channel all that energy into taking care of yourself, into fundamentally taking care of your lifestyle, of getting enough sleep, of getting enough rest, of getting nutrition, and of relaxing the mind. Because when we get enough rest, we get enough nutrition, and we take care of stress, then we really help the immune system. So let me give you a few action points, things that you can do in order to manage your stress and anxiety during this time. The first thing is to make sure that you're informed about what the adequate precautions are and do exactly that and no more. So don't let your anxiety and panic make you do things that are not helpful, but instead make sure that you do all the reasonable things like washing your hands, staying clean, avoiding areas like crowded spaces and so on. Do those basic things. Make sure you take adequate precautions, but don't panic and don't do anything that won't help. The second thing is make sure you get enough self-care, which means rest, exercise, nutritious food, and spending some time with your close friends. So while you may be isolating yourselves from crowded places, and that's the right thing to do, make sure you don't isolate yourself from everybody. Make sure you do connect with your friends. If you feel uncomfortable about going out, definitely reach out over a call or online and make sure you stay connected. The third thing is stay up to date with your news, but don't get obsessed about it. Don't keep checking the news every minute. Don't start ruminating and overthinking it, because that's not going to help you. So stay updated, but just check in every now and then. And for the most part, don't keep watching all the updates, because it's only bound to increase your anxiety. Next, if you have kids and they are struggling, remember that they are watching you as a parent. So if you can demonstrate a way of dealing with difficult situations with some calm and equanimity, that will definitely transfer onto them and they'll feel much more comforted. Now finally, and this is the most important thing, use mindfulness and meditation to achieve a state of mind where you can actually deal with uncertainty. Because as I was saying, dealing with uncertainty is a critical skill in the world. Because life is full of uncertainty, we have to learn how to deal with it. And the way we deal with uncertainty is really by focusing on that which we can control and surrendering the rest. It's not easy to do because, as I said, we really love, as human beings, we want to be in control of everything. But when you're not, and you can't affect outcomes ultimately, that creates a lot of tension and anxiety. Instead, what you do is make a list of things that you can do and make sure that you do that. Put all your energy into that, and through your meditation practice, through mindfulness, cultivate the power of your mind where you can let go of that which you cannot control. And this ability to control what you can, to let go of what you can't, will serve you well not only during this time, but during any crisis, any uncertain period in your life. Now keep in mind that stressful events like this can trigger clinical depression and anxiety in some cases. So if your stress, anxiety, or low mood is not responding to some of these tips, then do not hesitate and do seek professional help. I hope these tips help you take care of your anxiety, your stress. Be safe, be healthy, and I'll see you soon for the next State of Mind.